So I talked with Barbie today and we made some updates to it. But I think it's pretty close now. So this is, obviously when we started the furlough program, we had planned to have virtually every employee involved for 160 hours a week, or 160 hours during the 8-week period. And then, when I met with the 2 unions, everything was great. The public works guys came back and said, could we do one person, double the hours or 320 or something like that. And, I was trying to be flexible. And of course, we ran into an issue with the police officers and people making around 60,000 or over. So that put a real crunch on our numbers that we were hoping for. But I mean, they're okay, but they could have been much better. But you can get an idea. Over the 8-week period, we had a number of people have reduced hours, which did create a savings. The next, I'm sure it's in the next, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but the way this works is the state only on a normal given any time only covers 50% of a salary for unemployment. And normally those charges are charged back to the employer. The CARES Act is taking 50% of that and paying for it on our behalf. So the federal government's kicking in 50% of our 50% of payroll costs, which leaves us with 25%. There's still possible legislation that would say that we could go back in time, so to speak, and pay the solvency fee, or I'm not sure if that, can't remember what it's called right offhand. It's an insurance fee that you usually pay in December for the upcoming year, and it's based on a percentage of payroll. It was about $7,000. I thought there's no way, in 19 that we would spend $7,000. So I did not elect to pay that amount at that time. And of course, COVID-19 or the coronavirus hit us. So I was way off on that. But anyway, there's legislation or talk that the way the legislation is worded, we could still pay the solvency fee or whatever, I can't remember the correct name, but, or that the state would absorb the other 50% that we would owe. So we're still unsure whether we'll owe maybe as much as 25% of payroll when it's all said and done. The maximum we would pay is 25% of payroll for anybody that was on the furlough program or not on payroll.
So that would be, looking at this, almost $30,000.
Well, yes. Lori has, and I'm trying to figure that out. She has some numbers down, I think on the next spreadsheet or maybe the back page. Let me just try to get to that page.
And just for the record, I didn't take myself out of the plan. The lawyer actually said, had I furloughed the first time around, it would have been illegal and that I couldn't work in furlough. So it was really on her recommendation that I didn't go on furlough. I didn't just take myself out.
Okay, but towards the end of the program, Lori, you sent me an email saying you were going to withdraw.
Well, I just said I couldn't furlough the last two weeks because I had a new program and it was a critical time. There was no way I would have been so far behind. So I didn't really take myself out. I would have had to work during that time and I couldn't work and furlough for the lawyer. So
I just wanted to note who, what I thought you had withdrawn. That was your email, but I guess it should be a partial withdrawal. So this is the spreadsheet in front of us. And this is provided by Lori. This is the employees who have come forward and said they're going to retire. You know, that they're going to take health
Can you
insurance.
make that bigger? Can you make that bigger?
I'll try. That's challenging.
A little plus sign down below.
Yes, I just showed up here. Thank you. There we go. Let me see if I can.
Then one more time.
I'm going to try to move it over a hair. There we
Okay.
go.
Okay.
You can reduce that sidebar by hitting that little arrow there.
Oh, okay, over here. Here, that
Oh,
one.
no.
No.
The,
Can't show
just to
you.
the right of the graph, there's a little arrow pointing to the right. Click on that.
The graph, you lost me.
You've got the retiree savings. There is a bar down the right. If you click on the little arrow that points to the right, it'll close that
Just see-
rectangle.
See
Just
what,
move
right?
closer
you're-
to
you're
your
clicking-
So
no,
go to
no.
the left. Go to the left. Go to the left. Move
Okay.
your pointer to the left.
Not-
It says
not
English.
Okay, see where it says convert?
Invert. No, I don't see that on my screen.
You can't see that?
I don't see where it says convert.
No, I'm talking to everybody else. That the graph you put up is perfectly visible.
Yes.
Yeah,
Stop messing with it.
just minimize everybody's face and you can see it.
That
Well, that's up to each of us.
I can see it. Everybody can see it.
I'll leave you guys there where you're at.
I can't see the entire sheet. I see it. All I can see is up to opt out.
Opt out.
Yeah,
That's where it ends for me.
Well, I think that is where it ends, isn't it? Isn't that the last?
now move your cursor up.
Here, let me, hang on a second. Oh, yeah, okay, there is some more.
Move your cursor
Okay.
up.
Okay, now take that cursor where you're moving. Move it to the right about an inch.
Yes,
Okay, now go straight up. Go straight up. Stop
Stop
to the right
yes.
just a little
and
bit.
down about a half an inch.
like
No, don't
that.
touch that. Down half an
Next
inch. Just
bar
take your
over.
cursor. There.
There.
See that little arrow there? Click on that arrow.
I don't
It's a,
see.
it's a triangle.
To your
Triangle.
cursor,
There's nothing.
Fixed it, Ralph.
right next to your cursor. There, right there. Over.
I think Ralph has to.
Are we live on the air?
I think so. There's no arrow. There's not. There's just.
It's gonna be a YouTube video.
Ralph, are you seeing pictures? Are you seeing us?
Yeah, you're on the side. Yes.
You need to minimize the pictures where you're down to one and you'll see that triangle
All
arrow.
right, let me try here. See if I can get there. You're highlighted. Okay,
Yes, that's it. Click it.
There we go. There it was.
There you go.
It was hiding under your pictures. Moving this back over.
There, that's good.
The names are, I mean, you can't see everything along the way here. But, some retirees are, of the age where there's only a year or two. And some are, surprisingly to us, some have about 5 years. And we're, I know some of you have emailed me and so on, but we're looking at, some would be replaced, not at all, and some would be replaced within a period of time. So obviously our goal is to recoup the insurance costs through a retirement. We can do that with by not backfilling right away. We can do that by a new pension plan design that is a cash balance plan versus the defined benefit plan. The salary of the new person is going to be lower than the person retiring. So there's a number of ways. Some are very easy to figure out and some are more difficult. Like when we do have to backfill and there's a lot more time, it'll take longer to recoup savings. And each department you have to look at each department because it's like a little business. You know, refuse has its own employees, so does water and wastewater and so on. But anyway, I'm looking at, you know, possibilities of, like, for example, in the refuse department, we had 4 employees. I think we can get by indefinitely with 3. You know, the wastewater operations down there is a lot more complicated. We have 3 mechanics, usually 2 on one shift and 1 on another. I think we can go till next spring with just 2 mechanics and then backfill the position, you know, maybe in 4 or 5, well, in the 4th month or 5th month of 2021. And actually, you know, the person retiring is not going to use health insurance at all. They're Medicare eligible, so there won't be any cost there. But I think we can get by. Because they are continuous operations, I did not include them in the furlough program. It was just impossible. The people who would have backfilled the operators, we had injuries or some work related, some non-work related injuries that made it impossible to backfill when people would be on furlough and keep operations running. So this is the other way of finding savings as people retire, you know, take our time in backfilling the position within reason. So we're doing that here. We're going to do it in some of the other departments, but 1 or 2 probably will be indefinite, is our plans. And I'm happy to talk to HR about that or whoever. I think we do need to reorganize a little bit. As you know, we're very much down to bare bones in public works, and we have to maintain operations through the summer, through the winter. We have a contract with the union, so we got to abide by those terms. But I think there's some things that we can do, tweak things a little bit that would keep us, you know, productive and getting things done, but yet save some funds or save some money in some of these funds. So that is kind of where we're at with who's retiring, you know, and who we're aware of anyway, or who's going to take advantage of any type of incentive for health care is these individuals here.
Okay. The yellow highlighted are highlighted because that's you don't know the exact date.
We know the exact date, but I think Lori can add to this, but I think we had to try to guess how much vacation they had accumulated and sick leave they have accumulated, because some of that's, you know, will be paid back. It's in the contract, you know, health insurance is so much per day.
The yellow highlights are because they haven't said exactly what day they're retiring. So
Okay.
we had to guesstimate when they might go.
Okay. I know approximates, you know, and, you know, some of them are still tweaking it by a week or so. So I agree there's a little bit of, you know, question, but they're locked in to say the month of the year and so on.
Okay. Ralph,
Yes.
for your more for say like Bob Cook, he was one of your senior lead guys. Do you have somebody who can fill his shoes?
Well,
at this
yeah.
time? Or?
Yes, we
Good.
do. You know, obviously, sometime in the fall, we would advertise, but just so you know, we have an assistant. He is a superintendent, so he manages the plant's operations on a day-to-day basis. We have an assistant superintendent in case something would have happened to Bob, or he has different duties to sort of like Dawn and I. You know, Dawn handles certain aspects that I don't, and same
Okay.
with the assistant superintendent. So my understanding is he's interested, but of course we would advertise the position.
Right, right. Yeah, but I was just concerned, I was just asking out of curiosity, were you at risk with losing a senior person like that? And it sounds like, no, you have someone who can come in and take over the job.
Yes, we do. We have someone that's very capable, and we try to have that just because, the future is uncertain. Things, people could take other jobs and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite complicated, but we do have someone I believe is interested and could easily step in.
Good.
We don't have, who owns what departments people are from, but like Greg Brown's from the water system, water department. Tom Long works at the wastewater treatment plant. Daryl's in the streets department. So is Chris, we only have 4 to begin with, so we're losing 2. So we're going to have to backfill somebody there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Kathy's in the office. Eric is our one and only parking enforcement animal control officer. Caleb actually left and took a job somewhere else. He was in the refuse department. And of course, Bob is the superintendent at the treatment plant.
Right. But as you say, they'll come in, the new people will come in at a lower
Yeah.
wage.
Yes.
And then we'll also see about we'll see a 10% difference, being that the new hires, if anybody that we do hire, would be a defined contribution plan. So that's a 5% match as opposed to a 15% match.
That's pretty accurate. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, when we do replace, there will be savings.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a summary of this sheet, and then we'll take a look. I believe there's one more sheet here. Okay, this one, oops, I'm sorry. We'll kind of start at the top and work our way down through it. Maybe Lori, you want to summarize this?
Yeah, so I was asked to look at like revenue and expenses and where we might be at. And basically, most of the taxes are pretty much on target. Earned income tax is a little off, but I wouldn't say it's terrible. Now, this is only as of July, so we'll have to follow that. But the real estate, the transfer tax, and the LST are right on where they should be. The other things like street opening permits, they're down. Parking fines, of course, Eric wasn't working, so they're down. The crossing guard revenue is down, but they're not working, so we don't have any expense. The police do task force reimbursement, and of course with COVID, they couldn't do that, so that is down. And parking meter revenue, we haven't charged for parking in a while, so that was expected, the same for parking permits. Then I looked at some expenses. The office supplies are just down a little bit because we all worked from home or we went in the office. That wasn't down as much. Fuel expense was down because the police were at less hours. There was less people working in like public works. So that was down a good bit. The safety committee hasn't been meeting because we have been closed. So that's mostly just the gal typing up the minutes, but that was down. Our legal fees were up. Park rental was down, rental of Talleyrand and Governors, because obviously people don't want to be face-to-face right now. And then material supplies, repairs, and maintenance was down. And the vehicle and equipment maintenance, again, I think it goes back to there was less people here using that equipment, so those expenses were down. And then we paid out $45,000. That's the 2 $500 checks that everybody got. It's gonna come to $45,000. And right now, the state bills us for whatever they paid out in unemployment. So I've paid out about 24,000 so far, 20,000. And I estimated what I thought we would pay through after everybody has collected what they applied for. And that came to almost 40,000. We will get half of that back, which would be about 20. And then we've had COVID expenses, which I've been tracking, things like extra hand sanitizer. We put in the door into the office. It's not done yet, but the door is so that people can't just walk in. There's been extra cleaning that's been going on and extra cleaning supplies. We have the portable toilets at both Governors and Talleyrand. There's that expense. So it's all those kind of things that I've been tracking that's unique to this. And as of July 31st, they were 18,400. So, and then Barbie told me that water, sewer, and refuse are really on target. We're actually doing a little bit better than we were last year. Now, some of that's because our rates increased a little bit, but there really doesn't seem to be people falling behind, so that's a good thing.
The only other I'd mention on that, you know, we're still waiving any credit card processing fees. I mean, we're absorbing those, and we're not sending out any notices about late bills or posting properties like we normally would have. So my plan in another memo that's in the packet is to continue doing what we've been doing, is, you know, absorb those credit card fees and not terminate service for anyone on our system.
Hey, Ralph, this is Gina. I have a question. Are the credit card fees that you guys are absorbing, is that being marked into the COVID expenses by any chance, or just you're sucking it up?
I believe so. Do you know?
Okay.
Can you verify?
No, it's not. I don't have a number for that, and it's not.
Okay.
It's just coming off of. I guess she's giving a credit on everybody's bill. Like if they pay for their water, sewer, refuse with a credit card, then, and she has to credit it back, I think they just get a credit on their invoice on their quarterly bill. So we can get that number for her, but it's not in my number because it's not.
Oh, okay.
It's
That
not
might
really.
actually, that is a COVID related expense
Yeah,
though, I think.
it
So I
is.
think, so maybe you can work with Barbie to get that number, and it
Yeah.
maybe fluctuate from, because some people will decide to just drop it off in the box rather, or put it in the mail.
Yeah, she didn't have that number for this because she's not caught up from being furloughed yet. When I asked her for it, she said she hasn't entered everything yet. So she didn't want to venture a guess as to what it might be.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. It seems like a thing that we could roll into the COVID expenses. Another question, Ralph, is our half reimbursement for the unemployment by the CARES Act, will that be separate? Hold on, let me figure out how I'm trying to word this. Is there a potential to also be reimbursed for COVID expenses by a grant, or will the grant only cover the unemployment?
Well, yes, I mean, there's probably two answers to the question. The state is going to automatically, when Lori submits or we pay our bill for the unemployment costs, that on their end, the state is working with the federal government to reimburse us 50% of those costs.
Okay.
So for unemployment, that's how that works. All these other expenses that Lori talked about and listed here as COVID expenses or the credit card fees or what have you, our avenue is going to be through the county's CARES Act funds. The county got
Right.
$15 million. They have an allotment to use, and there's already been some informal discussions, kind of what the borough might get, the amounts, but it would be for these COVID expenses. My understanding is that they want to help the municipalities that provide or have a police department, because our expenses are higher than other municipalities that do not have police departments. But we have not seen any applications yet, but as you,
Right. Yeah.
he reported, the county was in the process of hiring a grants administrator and getting everything in place. So we should be hearing pretty soon about a lot of these expenses and how to apply for grant funds.
Okay.
Lori,
Is that,
oh,
real quick, John, is that separate from the COVID relief block grant? That there was a press release about it a couple weeks ago where there was, I think, like 56,000 going to Bellefonte Borough.
Well,
That's a different thing, right?
that is a different thing. That's what we call Cdbg, or Community Development Grant Funds.
Okay.
That is going for a different pot of money, going for different uses. It could be individual rent subsidies, health care for those who do not have health care coverage. There is a list of things that that money can go for. Of course, there's another application process, but this is a different pot of funds that we would be eligible for.
Right. Okay. I remember that. I just wanted to clarify that because it's hard to keep it all separate in my mind, the different avenues of grant funding. So.
Sure.
Add to this, Ralph?
Yes, sure.
About 3 weeks ago, I was made aware of a different pot of money. I can't get into it too deep right now, but there's a sizable allocation being made to law enforcement agencies and first responders that I found out a couple weeks ago. I think I might have said in an email that we're eligible, and we have some unique circumstances that will make us favorable in that process. And I'm in the middle of working on that, and feel pretty confident that we're going to be getting something out of that as well. In fact, that's very vague, but I have to be vague right now.
So just FYI, we're at 7:31 now. So if there's any searing question, ask it quickly, and otherwise we'll just go into the regular meeting.
my only question was on the tabulation of we have revenues and we have expenses change here. What was the net of, Lori, do you have a net impact of all these in total?
Yes, except for the taxes, which are on target, and not including the crossing guard stuff or the legal fees. Lost revenue is $77,430.87, and the reduced expenses is $54,800. So net, we're down about $22,600.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Onward and upward.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
I'm gonna
So-
sharing the screen here.
Okay. So we're going back to start the meeting. It is now 7:32 p.m. Call the August 17th Bellefonte Borough virtual council meeting to order. We have a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge of allegiance, flag is behind Ralph. Make your screen big. There you go. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
republic, to
for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think I did that wrong.
Roll call, please.
All right, 1 second here. Mr. Brackville,
Here.
Miss Cleaton,
Here.
Mr. Eaton,
Here.
Ms. Hombosky,
Here.
Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Mr. Prendergast,
Here.
Ms. Thompson,
Here.
Ms. Tosti Vasey,
I'm here.
Ms. Walker,
Here.
Mayor Wilson.
Present.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is approval of minutes. I need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion, Eaton.
I'll second it, Clayton.
Any changes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on to the consent agenda. Motion to accept the consent agenda.
Eden will make the motion to accept.
I'll second it.
Prendergast.
That was Randy?
That was Pendergast.
Prendergast,
That
okay.
doesn't matter.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on, written communications.
First item is from the Bellefonte Moose Lodge. They're just notifying us that the rubber duck race scheduled for this year is canceled due to all the COVID concerns. Although they are looking to get permission to reserve for next year, the same race, same event. It'll be 1 to 3 p.m. on Saturday, September 4th, 2021.
I think what we can do with this is go ahead and tentatively hold the date for them, but ask them to submit the request again in the new year so that if we're still dealing with COVID-19 issues, we can sit down and have the meeting we need with them.
Okay. Got it. Next item, Watermark Church in Talleyrand Park. They have also, same idea, canceled whatever event they were scheduled to have, but they would like to reschedule for May 2nd, 2021, which is a Sunday for next year.
Ditto way with them as well.
Got it. Okay, next item is a request from the owner of Care for People. They would like to hang a banner on the Veterans Bridge, maybe on both sides, I'm pretty sure, to recognize a job fair that they're having as an upcoming event.
We need a motion and then we'll have a discussion.
I'll make the motion to approve the request for banners on Veterans Bridge for
Brackville,
August 24th to September 9th.
second,
I'll second it, Clayton.
discussion.
I'm going to have to recuse myself. I work for them.
Okay. Any of my discussion I have is they're not a nonprofit, correct? And our policy is only putting banners on the bridge. They're nonprofits. Is that not correct?
I'm not sure of their legal status, but yeah, I did check the sign ordinance. It's now for banners across the street, it says nonprofit. So I don't know if we really clarified what happens on the bridges, but we have tried to follow. Our practice has been to allow just nonprofit community organizations. The only thing you could possibly do is make the additional that if they happen to be a nonprofit, a 401 or 501c3, then maybe you would consider it. But if they're not, if they don't have that status under the IRS code, not be able to.
I think we need to be consistent. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and I don't know if they are or not. I work for them for their status.
Would it be something to check back, table this and?
Well,
Well, no, they're asking for the banner for next week. So
Yeah,
we have to do it tonight.
Yes.
Just a
So,
suggestion.
so my suggestion is someone, amend the motion to say that to this conditional approval
Yeah.
on showing a record of being a nonprofit.
I'll
Yeah.
accept that as the motion, as part of the motion. If the second wants to do the same.
I'll accept that as conditional use.
Approve that on one side, if they are a nonprofit.
Yes.
Otherwise, no. Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of the conditional approval for with nonprofit status, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, moving on.
Next item is some information from the 2020 census efforts. It's the self-response rates for Center County. We're doing okay as a borough or municipality. We got a ways to go. I don't know if the mayor or council president would like to say anything.
We're about 25% of the estimated population in Bellefonte has not yet responded. The federal government has moved the deadline from October 31st back to September 30th. So we need to have as much push as possible to get members out. I have seen some of the census workers walking around the neighborhood. Maybe, Tom, you and I need to sit down and have a meeting with the committee and see what else we can do to get this last minute push. What do you think, Tom?
Well, I don't know. I'm actually, I'd just like to report, just to give some perspective, that the national average for returns is 63%. Pennsylvania's average so far is 66, and Center County as a whole is 64. And even though, we're not at 100% where we want to be, but we're at 72%. So I think as a borough, we've done pretty well. And if you put it all together as our surrounding counties, which make up our school district, we have a pretty high average right at this point. I know that, like Joanne said, that the census workers are making their rounds and trying to pick up what hasn't been turned in yet. But I think in light of the fact that this whole thing sort of was a perfect storm with COVID, that we've done pretty well. Not to say we can't do a little bit better, but yeah, I'll be glad to talk with you, Joanne, and see if there's anything else you think we might be able to do to bump it up.
Yeah. The other thing is that for every additional person we get $1,200 back to the borough. And I think that's why I'd like to figure out something. I don't know, and since Don isn't here, we don't have the answer. We have, I think, about $300 more in our.
He was going to use that for purchase of ads in the paper to finish.
That's kind of what I was hoping for.
Yes.
So maybe between him, Tom, and me, we can sit down and figure out what to do.
Sure. I think it was recommended that they spend the money, or we spend the money through some ads. So I can check with him how far he has gotten on that.
Okay.
Joanne,
Yeah.
previously on the census website, they used to break Bellefonte Borough into two sections.
Correct.
And they had the response rates for both sections. I no longer can find that on the.
I don't know. I don't have it on top of it, but I do know that the part of town that has the lower response is up on Half Moon Hill.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is there any way that we can focus, or, if you guys are going to do, or, if you're going to try to come up with something, try to focus over in that area, because I recall it being a pretty significant difference.
It was probably about 10.
Find the information.
Last I looked at it was about 15% difference. So that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
Oops. Hang on a second. There we go.
Okay, so Tom, Don, and I will work on that.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
Hey, let me make a note of that here. Tom, Don, Joanne, census. All righty, let's see, where were we here? You ready for next item?
Yes.
There's a flyer information about the long-range transportation plan 2050. There's a public meeting coming up, which is September 2nd, 6 to 7. But on this draft plan, members or the boroughs or whoever, interested community members can comment anytime from now until September 14th. Again, the official meeting is September 2nd, 6 to 7. And possibly Mr. Johnson might have more to talk about on this.
Doug, do you have anything?
The coordinating committee won't consider adopting this until September 22nd. That's when we vote on it. I had a borough authority meeting on the same night as this MPO meeting last month, so I could not attend. I did read the meeting minutes, and we are on for Phoenix Avenue and Route 150. We are on the long range transportation plan. We're not on the tip at this moment for that intersection. Again, this is the time that you want to send in comments if that's what we want to focus on. I would think maybe Randy has an input on this. Maybe Nittany Valley Planning could also muscle up a letter that might be helpful to us. And there may be other projects that Nittany Valley Planning may want on the long range transportation plan.
So Doug, when you're talking about Phoenix Avenue, does that also include Water Street down from Talleyrand Park?
I would say yes, but I can't guarantee that. I know they wanted to roll that into one large project, but I would have to check with Tom Zilla on that to make sure that's true. I would hope that's the case, Joanne.
Okay. And would it be helpful if we do it as a written letter to the MPO as council with Ralph writing that whole is a one big project?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And do we need a motion to do that? Can we just tell you, Ralph, you need to do it?
I can do it.
Just going forward with it. And if Ralph needs any more information from me, I'll be happy to give him that. Or I'm sure Tom Zilla would be happy to answer any of your questions, Ralph, in regard to submitting that.
I want to clarify, in my mind, I'm going to mention Mill Street as well. I've heard discussions about now that the Ciro building in Spring Township's being reused, would we consider a sidewalk or some pedestrian way out to there and back? So this all could work together. Phoenix Avenue, Mill Street, pedestrian pathway out to towards the Ciro plant or that property. I'd like to include all that if that's all right.
That's a great idea, Ralph. That's great.
Kudos.
Sure. All right. Well, that's actually, well, I'm sorry. No, we have a number of thank you letters that were included in regard to specific police officers or the chief. Nice, heartfelt letters for you to take a look at and review. They're there for you.
I think we've lost CNET. I'm sending them the Zoom link.
Oh, I see their little box here, but I'm not sure.
Well, if I sent you a note in chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't looking that way.
Residents trying to check in, they didn't have the Zoom link.
Okay. All right. Yes.
I'm doing that, Ralph. So just keep going with what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. That was complicated for me. Anyway, that is the end of written communications. I did not receive any oral comments. There may be a question under old business. This person is going to probably talk under old business or one of the committee reports that we discussed their event. So that may come up later. So I'm good if we want to move into special committee reports.
First special committee is a public safety committee meeting minutes. I think Randy needs to talk about that.
I mean, it was just the usual monthly COG meeting. Everything that they discussed was related to the COG members and areas that Bellefonte isn't really involved with. So nothing, I think there are, I didn't get the packet for that meeting. I got the packet for June, and I think the one that's in our packet tonight, but I didn't get the packet for that meeting here the second week of August. So I think the reports were in there for the, the usual inspections and things that they've done, but I didn't get a chance to see them. Like I said, I emailed them and said, I didn't get this packet. And all I got back was, oh, we missed that. We'll catch that next time. Okay. So
I had a question for you, so you may not be able to answer it. It says, in those minutes, you said something about us joining the Center Region Code of Appeals Board. I wanted to know how that might affect our own hearing board.
no, I just questioned if we were part of it, because if we weren't, I wasn't going to vote on it. But we have the opportunity to use them if we want. But it was acknowledged that Bellefonte has their own board to do that.
Okay.
It's for building permit appeals. So very small, narrow scope that the board has. I think years ago, we developed our own. Council could certainly look at, merging or something, but I think we do have our own code appeals board.
We do.
And that was my intent, just to clarify that. So
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on those minutes? Seeing none, the CCMPO meeting summary, Doug?
Well, you can read the notes as well as I have and watch the replay of it on CNET. We're just talking about the LRTP outline and the public session that's occurring, or the comment period, and then the vote of accepting it for that LRTP is good through 2050. So if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to try to get, or I will get the answers for you if you have any questions. I don't think we're involved in the preliminary engineering environmental studies. When they went through the list of townships and boroughs, Bellefonte was not mentioned, and I did not get a chance to call Tomzilla and ask why.
No.
Do you know about that, Ralph?
Well, I mean, they're looking at pathways for the missing link between Potter's Mills and where 322 leaves off, or connecting into I-99. So that's why Bellefonte Borough is not mentioned. We would not be a pathway, but all the municipalities that potentially could be, or an option, are mentioned.
That is what I assumed, but I wanted to make sure. Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Joanne, there was a couple other emails that I got in regard to the traffic change coming on Interstate 80.
Okay.
New exchange. It's lengthy. I can read it quickly for you if you want me to, or I can say to folks that this is happening tomorrow and this week. So if we're not being seen until Wednesday, it's a little late news, but I'll be happy to share it with you if you want me to.
Is it going through to the end of the week?
Yes, this actually is, they're going to start the closure for the Department of Transportation is alerting drivers that the traffic change on Interstate 80 eastbound is planned for next week as the Route 26 local interchange project in Center County continues. This means that starting on Tuesday, August 18th, the I-80 eastbound passing lane, the left lane, in the project area will be closed and drivers will move through using the exiting travel lane and the roadway shoulder. Westbound traffic will not be affected. Well, this is the start of the new high-speed interchange of 99 and 80, the connector. So bottom line is the construction is going to start and there will be traffic delays and rearrangement of the direction of traffic of how you enter I-80, how you exit I-80, how you get onto 999. It's a 2-year project, but it's going in 3 phases. So there will be some congestion there and traffic changes. So it's starting this week that some changes are occurring. The other thing is they're going to continue the paving from Bellefonte exit on 99 to Spring Township. The lane has already been closed. They're resurfacing that lane. I think they plan to wrap that up this week. That's it.
Thanks.
But
That's
just to
good.
let people know that this is happening at the new interchange. The job is starting. The project is starting.
Very nice.
Thanks for that information. Okay. Randy, you want to do your email regarding the PSA board?
Nice, everybody could see what was going on. At least I tried to follow up. I wasn't sure what PSAB may be sending and what they're not, but we had the meeting, and basically through that meeting, the meeting was held on August 7th. The fall leadership scheduled in Gettysburg on October 16th and 18th has been canceled, so next meeting is not till 2021. And when they were going through the resolutions, you can see there that the Bellefonte Borough's resolution, they have numbered 2020-J, was not formally recommended by the RMP Steering Committee. And so the resolution will be brought to the delegates at the annual conference in 2021.
Okay, let me ask you something about that. Was that the subcommittee of the, sort of like the executive committee that said that, or was that the entire resolutions committee that made that decision?
That was the Resolution and Policy Committee. So they're the
They
ones.
never the reason I'm asking is they never contacted me and I was supposed to be on it. So I am not happy about it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought you were on there, but all they are is a recommending committee. And so their recommendation was not to approve, but it still goes in front of the conference in 2021.
Yeah, well,
So
they had specific, I will talk to PSAB about it because they were supposed to have been there. And if we'd been there, that outcome might have been different.
yeah, I was confused about that too, but there is a possibility that could still get passed.
Yeah.
Randy, I was told in the spring of the year that, of course, there's no summer conference in June and everything was going to get moved to the October conference, which has been canceled. I see your note said steering committee. Is that different than the full committee, or?
That's what I was asking.
I think it is.
Okay. We should follow up, Joanne, and see,
Right.
make sure they have your contact information and everything.
But it was assigned to a different number of 2020-10. So again, it could be from what the person I was contacting said that it could come up to leadership group and be passed there. So
Okay.
there's still a chance.
Okay.
That's it. Then there was a review of the 2020 to 2025 strategic plan, easy to say. And that was pretty much what I got out of the meeting. There was a lot of different reports, but I'm not going to get into all those. So I just wanted to get something out there.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Next is the ad hoc committee. In the folder was a letter from the wayfinding project, which is the grant we got last summer, asking that we hold off on voting on passage of the sidewalks ordinance because part of the grant that we received last summer was for them to do an audit. They did not receive it until last week. So there was no time for them to actually look at it and do the detailed review that they need to do. In addition to that, there was a down under new business, there was the Cdbg asking about some additional signage that needs to be looked at and added to the signage ordinance. So I think based on both of those, that we should just table the vote until we have all that information and then bring it up. So I think if we could have a motion to table the vote until we have all the information. I appreciate that.
So moved, Brackbill.
I'll second that, Clayton.
Brackbill and Clayton, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. Thanks.
Joanne, just one other note. I am having lunch with Chris Cat from the PSAB on Wednesday at noon. We're basically going to meet at Bonfado's, I believe, and then just walk over to the park and do lunch
Okay.
together. Probably just, talk some things. So if people want to stop by, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, and when is this?
Wednesday at noon this week.
Okay. Anything else under special committees? Seeing none, Mayor Wilson.
You're on mute.
Yes. Thank you. Two things on the sheet from my report. I want to start off with the pedestrian safety initiative. Chief Weaver's on the line. I don't know if you all had a chance to read that, but it's a three-phase plan to initiate. And I guess you just want some feedback on when you'd like to maybe have that started. Sean, if you want to chime in on this, you did a nice job putting this together, by the way.
Right. Well, this is something that we've done in the past. Approximately 8 years ago, we had done some very similar pedestrian initiative. There could be some, a lot of good feedback from the citizenry from the last one we had. So we could do it in the beginning of fall. We could do it next month. We could do it next week. We could coincide it with if there's any projects coming down the road. I'm not sure if there's any paving or I know we had some traffic calming measures put in place a couple of years ago when we did this. So I would like to get with Ralph or Public Works and find out if there's any plans in the near future for any traffic calming measures to be put in or not. Painting of the lines in the downtown area. So the busiest part of the year is usually spring and fall. We could do one, this fall, and then or at the end of, prior to school starting in a week or so, we can begin this, and we can also begin one in the springtime too. So it's if you don't have any preferences to when I start this, I would like to get on to it within a week or so. And we'll keep pretty good strict records and provide you some data as much as we can. And numbers can speak volumes. Like I said in my proposal here, there is a high volume. You would not believe the amount of traffic that flows through the town, up near Parkview Heights daily, through the state route, and through Allegheny Street, and through the West High Street corridor and Water Street. So it's just not one little area we focus on as far as the enforcement. And obviously we've had accidents out in front of the high school, and also as a downtown area. But if you have any questions or any comments, I'll feel free to ask, and if I don't know the answer, I'll get it to you. But in my experiences, pedestrians as well, share the same responsibilities as motorists, and we always find ourselves, pitting one side against the other. But we're always, we're both pedestrians and personally motorists all the time. So we have to, use our common sense, because it doesn't matter who's wrong or right. If someone gets injured, it's a no-win situation. But is there any questions? Are there any questions about the handout that I gave you?
I read the handout. It looked really good. I think you should start as soon as possible.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Joey.
This is the only question I have, and I was driving through town today, and I noticed that, like that letter we received 2 weeks ago, most of the crosswalks are pretty faded out.
And I think we have that understood.
And I know the streets, we'll be talking about that when we get down to the committee, talking about that, the painting of those lines. But that question I have for Chief Weaver is, with those lines that are so faded out, how does that affect your education, and how would it be better to delay it slightly or what? I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I think the crosswalks are visible enough that people know where to use them. And the motorists, I think they're visible enough right now.
Okay.
But obviously, it never hurts to touch them up, throughout the year.
They're definitely faded, but yeah, they're visible.
Right.
Okay.
Are we
There may-
going to, oh, sorry.
Sure.
Are we expecting to get a report of any form from PennDOT relative to the recent incident up at the Diamond, relative to, when I say a report, maybe a review of the conditions and possible corrective actions?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Are we expecting to see something?
No, we're
like
not.
that?
No, usually what happens is the state police will come in and do their reconstruction if they haven't already done so, or they're in the middle of doing it. And they will, obviously there's going to be charges in this case. However, the charges aren't necessarily a result of the actions of the driver before the accident or the causation of the accident. And I don't know when they will make that public. If they do, the result of their investigation. I know charges are pending. However, that charge was not the actual causation of the accident.
Right.
As far as PennDOT, I don't think that they will come out and give a report of any corrective measures or corrective actions that needed to be taken on their part, or the pedestrian's part, or the driver's part.
Or whether or not the speed is proper
Correct.
speed.
Right.
through that
So yeah,
area.
they would have to. Well, they have done studies in the past in that same exact area, and I remember, if you can remember, whenever they do, like they did a report that they'll bring a speed timing device down there and they'll set it there for a week or 3 days, and they'll get an average speed. And sometimes the average speed would be like, it'll be 4 miles an hour over the speed limit. And that would actually, tell them that they should raise the speed limit to 30. But, so, and I know they have done studies in that same area and on Howard Street as well. But they did find, and Ralph, I don't know if Kathy can look up the past speed study that they did, that the actual speed, if I can recall, was about 24.5 miles an hour through town, which 24.5 or 25 miles an hour through the downtown of Bellefonte, I think is excessive. It seems excessive in that area, but if you take 25 and put it on Lynn Street or Howard Street, it doesn't seem as excessive. I know if I'm going 20 downtown, I feel like I'm speeding, but I don't know if that answers your question, John, but
yeah, I was just wondering if in the past, when events like this have occurred, whether or not there is sort of, any sort of review by the state relative to, what they, on their end, they could have done
Right.
to
I can't
mitigate
answer that.
the situation.
And I think that would come into effect if there were multiple accidents that were, there's a big trend of pedestrian accidents in that spot. I'm sure there would be some kind of a study, but in this case, I don't think that there will be.
All right,
Okay.
I'd like to move on with the mayor's report, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I was contacted or asked by BHCA to bring this up tonight. They are asking for council's permission to extend the concerts in the park for a couple weeks, and then possibly into September, they have some additional funds. Things have been going pretty well down there. I volunteered to respot put the dots back on the lawn. They're starting to get a little faded, hard to see. So can we get a motion on that or any discussion regarding?
I'll make the motion, Mayor, to extend the concerts in the park through what, September, mid-September? or what?
I think right now they're just looking at up to the second Sunday in September. I know we have a couple things lined up for the end of August, last 2 Sundays in August, and then if they can get 2 more weeks out of it, I think they have enough money to cover that.
Okay, so
You need the date, Joanne?
you need a second.
I'll second it.
So that would be to September 12th, I guess, Tom.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
yeah, that should be fine.
That would be, I'm looking real quick.
September 12th or 13th.
So, yeah, through September 13th.
Yes.
So that's Johnson and Clayton? No, it was Walker.
In
Johnson.
Walker.
It was me.
Discussion?
I had some
Go ahead.
discussion.
Okay.
They're really enjoyable. My wife and I try to attend every Sunday. I did have a question for the mayor. Mayor, and you're always there at breakup, and almost always our officers do a cursive walk around, which I think we all really appreciate. But at the end of the concert, there's people doing that illegal jaywalking across High Street. Do you think maybe 8-ish, 10-ish, if the officers aren't involved in something else, they might be able to help us out down there with some observation of traffic control?
Sean, if you don't
I might
mind,
No
just
problem.
tell the people that are on Sunday, 8 o'clock, if they're not tied up with something more serious, so they can help us out down there.
And where is that, at the High Street Bridge?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right
Around that area.
Okay.
Yeah, right between the railroad tracks and Water Street.
What happens, Chief, is folks start carrying their lawn chairs across the street. That some people need help walking, and they're going the shortest route to get their vehicle. Most people are very cooperative when they're leaving, but a police presence certainly would help. But I understand if there's something else going on, you can't do it.
Take care of it.
Just
Got
a
it.
suggestion. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Got it.
Discussion on the motion?
Thank you.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So say yes.
Okay, very good. Well, that's a good segue. We're going to go to from park and police right into a week ago Sunday, we had an incident report turned in for criminal mischief. Sergeant Brower and Officer Neidig were on duty at the time. They received a phone call from someone uptown and said that there were some people writing on the veterans wall at the courthouse. So they found the people and tried to talk with them, and the people were confrontive and pulled out their cameras and said, "We're videoing this," and called them racist and a lot of other things. And so they just advised them that they shouldn't be doing that anymore. Took their names and wrote up an incident report. Came down to the park, found me, and asked my advice on how should we handle that situation or handle it in the future. I interrupted Doug's day and brought him into the conversation with the two officers, and we talked about it a little bit. Went around the park and took pictures. At the time, the police were not aware that vandalism had taken place in the park, but it was pretty extensive. It was on both sides. It was on the fountains. It was on the walls. It was on the train station. And it was chalk, but nonetheless, the question is, how do you want our police officers to handle this in the future?
What's the law say?
Say that again, Randy?
I said, what does the law say? If somebody's breaking the law, what do you do?
Well, you usually enforce it, but the thing of it is, the question, I guess, is, do we want to enforce the law or not? And if not, which other laws do we not want to enforce? I don't care who's doing it. I don't care if it's Black Lives Matter, and I don't care if it's the YMCA. I don't think we should allow petty vandalism to take place in town, or it's just going to open up anybody and come in with the chalk and chalk it clear to high heavens. And I know the last time back in 2018, when we had the artistic Chalk the Walk initiative, there was quite a bit of concern via council on how that was going to work, how it was going to look, how it was going to affect this and that. So I know we do have some sensitivity towards that. So I'd like council to discuss that and let us know how you think the police department should handle it.
Melissa had her hand up.
It's all yours.
I would say if it's chalk, to give them a verbal warning to move on. There was a lot of non-chalk vandalism in the gazebo last year from the kids, and we didn't really do anything about it. So for the council members that don't know, this was in reaction to the BHCA's concert in the parks, where they chose someone who they probably should not have. And so this was a reactionary thing. It's just chalk. I don't think it's that big of a deal. They washed it off. The streets guys washed it off the next day. If we're going to look at penalizing people for this, I'd, crack down on the kids who are doing vandalism all over the place. And I mean, this to me is less offensive than the penises that were all over the gazebo last year that are still there. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I don't think we condone any type of vandalism, whether it be paint, penises, or chalk. We just happen to not be able to, I guess that we weren't able to find those kids. If we did, I'm sure that they would have gotten arrested as well. So the question really, Melissa, is you can't justify it because, well, we had a group that, and Joanne can speak to this, they had meetings about this group that was possibly inappropriate because of some of their garb. But despite that, the real question is, do we enforce the law or do we not enforce the law?
Well,
Mike, you had
we're already doing selective enforcement by not getting the kids that, or whoever did the gazebo last year.
Well, maybe we can ask them to turn themselves in.
It wasn't selective, Mr.
I
Prendergast.
understand that, but
If we would have found them, we would have arrested them, actually.
Oh, I believe.
It wasn't selective enforcement. It was that we just didn't get lucky. I mean, we might not have caught this person,
I am a great example of not being caught. So I understand that. But I think the only way we're going to do that would be to put cameras out there. And I think we already were discussing that at least a year ago.
Well, no, in this instance, a lot of the vandalism, the people don't want to get caught. They don't want to be seen, and 90% of the time they're not. Right. In these cases, they don't care. They'll do it right in front of us. They will do it in front of you. They will do it in front of anybody. And so it's kind of not hard. It's kind of almost impossible not to catch them. So what the mayor's asking is, okay, so do we look the other way because it's because for a cause, or if it's chalk, what do we allow them to write? What can they not write? I know it's happened to the courthouse. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, keep going. I'm not saying to stop. I'm just saying I'm putting my hand up for next time.
But that's that. I mean, we want to know. If council doesn't want us to act upon that with chalk in the park or in a public place, that's fine. We don't want to, because it puts us in a position that these people often are very argumentative with us, very confrontational, hoping to maybe drag us into a verbal confrontation, getting us to arrest them. We don't want to put ourselves in that position if we don't have to. We definitely don't want confrontation. However, that's a part of our job as well. If council wishes then that they don't want this activity to happen, then we won't let it happen. And whatever happens as far as the law goes.
Well, also,
Tom,
I've got to call. Hold on 1 second, Joanne. I've got to call the county commissioners tomorrow morning before their meeting to let them know what we've decided.
That's fine.
John, go ahead.
Okay. Now, if up at the court, now I don't know what happened up at the courthouse, but if something like paint was involved, where it was like permanently, and it, to me, that's vandalism. So you just arrest them for vandalism.
It's criminal mischief. It's criminal mischief, and it's tampering with property of another person's, like property that doesn't belong to you. And it doesn't have to be like paint. It can. I mean, chalk falls into the criminal mischief. I can just let you know that.
Now, the only thing is with chalk, we can arrest the people, but then I can guarantee you they are going to appear on, Channel 10, Channel 6, Channel 16 news, and we're going to have to say that we arrested people for putting chalk on the walk. And we need to have an answer at that point in time for saying that we've arrested people for putting chalk on the walk, which some people might think of as a pretty benign form of protest. Now, it is putting chalk on the walk and leaving a message, but we have to have an answer for when people, possibly the TV news, ask us, how do you feel about that? You want to look good.
That's why we're having this conversation.
Randy, I saw your hand up next.
Yeah, I mean, I asked a question, what's the law? And if it's misdemeanor, a citation could have just as easily been given, whether there's confrontation or not.
It's a summary offense.
So no citation?
A citation is a summary offense. It's a non-traffic citation. It's a summary. It's a misdemeanor would be a step up and then felony. So it's a summary citation.
Okay.
Well,
So finable up to 0 to 300. It's a sliding fine.
But it wasn't, I mean, that wasn't done. They were just.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't cite anybody.
But I mean, if you don't do something, sooner or later, the chalk turns to something else. If you're going to look the other way, you're not gaining looking the other way one time.
So Mike, you were next.
Well, the thing is with chalk, are we going to start arresting kids for drawing on the sidewalks? The citation, can't they just write?
Not even a comparison, Mike.
Let me finish, Doug. With a citation, can't they just write out the citation and walk over to him and say, here you go?
Exactly what I'm saying.
No confrontation, just hand them the citation.
Doug?
When we did the Chalk the Walk, the folks came to us and said, could we do Chalk the Walk, put art on the sidewalk? I instantly agreed. I think it's a great idea. They came and went through the proper channels. We discussed it. They got permission, and it was, we allowed them to do that. This is plain and simple vandalism. If I want to go on the diamond and write the same stuff, other things, I'll be arrested. I'll get a citation by the police. This is no different. It's defacing our property.
Yeah.
I agree with Doug.
One other thing I'd like to add is that there's some misconception about what you can and what you can't do that was verbalized by the people who had chalked last week. And this is in the police report. This is both were very outspoken as to how it is their right to make their position known, and that any borough or county property is taxpayer property, so it is okay and legal to market as they see fit.
If they go through the proper channels.
No, they just thought they could just wholesale.
I understand what they were saying. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't see who was talking. Go ahead. I'm all right. Go ahead. I'm done.
Yeah, it just explained to them, yes, that is your right, but you need to go through the proper channels. You know, and you need to ask permission, and then you get permission, and then you can do it. But you can't just walk up and start writing on whatever you want.
It took a year. It took over a year for us to get the police department to enforce the fishing ordinance. So I think that this is kind of silly to like swing the hammer so quickly when one thing happened. When I wanted someone to go down there and get fishermen off the walk for like a year and it didn't happen. So what is the urgency?
There's no urgency whatsoever.
I think this is super volatile.
There is no urgency, Melissa. It's just a question that you guys have to deal with. And if you don't want to deal with it, that's okay.
Yeah, you're right. I was there. Mayor and I talked with the officers. They handled that situation extremely well. And I said to them, you know, there really isn't a right or a wrong answer. No matter how they do it, somebody's not going to be happy. Anyhow, the question is, how does council want it enforced? It's not if it's going to take a year or 2 months or 3 months. Are we going to enforce the law or not? And don't roll your eyes. Are we going to or not?
Well, Randy already said, there's a law, just hand them a citation, you're over and done with it. They stood there, they presented themselves as being guilty, hand them the citation, you're done, they can go home, and if they really want to treat it as a matter of protest, they can say that they made some good trouble, and they can feel good about themselves. We've handed them the citation. We've enforced the law. There's nothing of a problem here. It's cut and dry.
That's kind of the way I feel about it too, John, but we want to make sure that we're not starting a storm that we don't want.
I have a couple of things to say, and it's not taking either side on this issue. When the Black Lives Matter had the protest up at the courthouse, there was consultation between Chief Weaver, the DA's office, the judges, I think, and I guess the commissioners. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, that as long as whatever happened didn't cause violence against somebody else and wasn't permanent damage.
That was the protest itself.
Right, that you all stood back.
Right, now it was a different circumstance. You know, we had goals in mind. You know, a different circumstance when you have that many people gathered. Do you want to really die on that hill over chalk whenever it could be a lot worse? In that instance, you know, we're just looking for, and not to create a big fight or disturbance here, or of the gray area. You know, we will the police department will be caught in the middle of it, and you know, it does matter to us how we are viewed by our community, and we often get put in times like this. We often get put in the middle, and not to be a cop out or anything, but you know, we want to know that you know we have backing from our council in whatever way we decide to you know, pursue this. But we first and foremost want to make sure that you know that you're okay with one way or the other. You know, if there is a swing towards this side or that side, chalk, no chalk. If it goes above chalk and it goes to something that's permanent, you know, we want to make sure before we because it will create a problem. We know the Channel 10 will be out there. We know that it could escalate into more of a disorderly conduct if we take action.
That was where I was heading to next.
And will the DA back us on a citation like that too?
Yeah.
So
the other thing that I wanted to say, and then Michael, I'll let you all talk, was that this is a form, what they did was a form of civil disobedience.
correct. At the protest.
Right, the protest and what they were doing down at the
Right.
park. They were both just different levels. There were fewer people involved in the park than at the protest. The question then I have is people who generally plan to do civil disobedience is, like you said, they want to be in your face. So you know who they're going to be. So there is some acknowledgement that there may be some legal repercussions for having done it. I have done civil disobedience in the past, knowing that there was that possibility. I wasn't arrested, but it is possible because I did do something that I was told I shouldn't be doing, and because I was standing up for the citizenry. I did it, and I felt, and I'm sure that these people did the same way. However, you need to understand when someone does civil, then they may expect to have that citation that Randy was talking about. You also have the repercussions that Chief Weaver was talking about having us possibly having the police looked upon as bullying. And we don't, I want to see good community policing. So I'm agreeing with, so I'm kind of here in the middle, agreeing with Melissa that chalking, you can give them a bucket and a sponge and say, go clean it up. Or you can escalate it and then we could have the press and all. So I am not sure where to land on this, but I think we need to take all of these repercussions. I do know that Margaret Gray called me this afternoon and asked me about this meeting. And I told her we were discussing it this evening. And she did say she was going to be talking to the commissioners more, just like Mr. Wilson said. And I think that whatever we do, it needs to be something that's done in coordination with the county, because a lot of this affects them as well. Exactly. This last one was down at Talleyrand Park. The previous one was on their property. And those are probably two places in town this is going to happen. So whatever we do, it needs to be I believe it needs to be a coordinated effort between the county government and our borough.
I agree.
Well, can I add one thing, Joanne?
After
yeah,
me.
well, no, Mike, yes, you can. Mike was first, and then you can go.
Oh, sorry, Mike. The only thing I'm going to say is that if we decide to, oh, is Mike first or mine?
Yes, Mike is first.
Sorry. Okay.
Chief, I just have one question. Did we ever get body cameras?
Yes.
Yep.
We do.
Well, if you've got one on, if the officer's got one on when this comes up, they can show that these are the people that were making the problem. They were the ones that were egging on the confrontation. The officer just asked for their name, hands them the ticket. They can't build it up too much from there, I don't think.
Right. Well, we know how to handle the ticket issue.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
We know how to handle that and do it without, with the least amount of.
Me?
Yes, now, John, it's your turn.
Okay. Okay. The only comment I'm going to say is if I'm 10 miles and over, or if I'm 10 miles over, I'm going to get a $55 speeding fine. And then I'm going to pay 120 or 130 in court costs. I'm good with handing somebody a citation for doing the chalk. I understand $300 for paint, but if doing chalk is more than being 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, and then the person's also got to pay 120 and 130, or 120 to 130 in fines, that seems a little out of line in terms of the fine. That's all I'm going to say. If we hand them a citation, because, you know, $300 for chalk is then 420 to 430 once they tack on the additional fines.
It's a sliding fine, and the judge actually has the discretion to set the cost of it.
For the fine will be
Yeah.
the fine.
The actual
Okay.
fine is a sliding fine, 0 to 300. Usually it's not 0, and it's usually not 300, depending on the circumstance.
So that'll be the magistrate will take care of that.
Mhm.
So I think you've got an answer. It's muddied.
Yeah.
Yes, Randy.
Well, I think too, we need to define what we're going to consider, peaceful protesting. Where does it cross the line from being peaceful? Is damage to property that line? Because it is property, and it belongs to everybody who pays taxes, not just the protesters. So I agree with you, Joanne, that, yeah, the county needs to be involved. And what they, because it was their property, it was our property. But I can't see the discussions that we're having. I'm not sure if anything really tied into the other. This is a different circumstance. You got people who want the confrontation. That's their 15 minutes of fame. And they're going to, try to eat that up a little bit. And it could be as peaceful as it is. It's just a lot of yelling. I don't know. But, I just can't see not giving it attention in some manner.
My suggestion is to have that conversation with the county and then come back once we know a bit more about how they want to deal with this, so that we have a consistent plan. I think that might be more helpful than us doing something and then.
Let me just make this point. The county doesn't enforce the laws. They reside in the borough. They just want to know what we're going to do. It's not that they're going to make any real policies, because they reside in the borough, and we have a borough police force that protects the county properties. So
I would still like to hear what they have to say before.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying it's really in our lap. So it's not in their lap. They just want to know what we're going to do about it. Listen, this is a pretty large topic, and there's some other directions to go with this. And it's too lengthy to discuss at this meeting tonight. I think I will be calling the county tomorrow prior to 10 o'clock to let them know that we are in the process of working on this. We're leaning towards citation, but we want to give it a little further discussion. If they'd like to be involved, that would be great. The other direction that we can look at, I've talked to some people who've worked in larger metropolitan areas, and they have the same problem as we do, even worse, but a community board that's put up somewhere, like a large whiteboard that has like suggestions. What would you do to change the world? And then people can write on it and different things. And then each week or something, you can go down and whitewash it and put up another question. But it's a public space where people can make suggestions, write their frustrations, write protests. It's done all over the country. And if you'd like more information on that, we can look into that. But I just want to say that I will report to the county tomorrow, let them know what we talked about tonight. And if we want to discuss this further in some sort of committee, I think we should look into it and then set some solid plan. But I want the police to know that at this point, we are undecided unless we want to make a decision tonight.
Undecided. We're going to go issue citations. I don't understand.
Well, you might want to have to take a vote on that, Michael.
Fine.
Go ahead.
I
I make a motion, we issue citations for vandalism.
And what would be the charge, and what would be the charge, and what would be the amount? And what would be the consequences if
It's
they
on the
don't pay
books
it?
already. We already have one. It's already a summary offense with a fine of $0 to $300.
All right.
Set by the magistrate. What discussion do we need?
All right. Well, make a vote.
So we have to have a second. Okay, that means that we go talk to the county tomorrow.
Well, that needs to be a motion then too, but I was hoping somebody would second that because I would have spoke against that motion. I think at some point it has to be up to the officer. If there's a law, if there's something there that warrants an officer's attention, then sometimes that officer needs to make that decision, which they did that Sunday night. They did not give any kind of tickets or so that was their decision. Whether it was right for them to go look for Mayor Wilson or not, I don't know if that would have been something I would have done as a police officer. Either I made my choice and I settled with it, but to go and search somebody else, did we do this right? I don't know if I agree with that.
Officers always have the discretion.
Right.
Well, I did not hear a second, so the motion is dead for lack of a second. So we'll move on. Just one more thing I have on here, Tom, and you had the police report that was sent this afternoon.
Pardon?
There were, Sean sent out a police overtime report this afternoon.
I did not print that out. I did see it as an email, but I didn't get a chance to look at it. Sorry.
Do you want to say anything about it, Chief Weaver?
You're on mute, Sean.
Oh, okay. There were 6 hours on this one. 4 were for court, central court, and 2 were for an investigation of an assault that happened at the end of the officer's shift. That was it.
Okay. Anything else, Mayor?
No, thank you. Thanks for the discussion, everybody.
Always a pleasure.
Next is council present, and when I made the agenda, I didn't have anything. I now do. On Friday, Rick Price from the Pennsylvania Drive Electric Coalition, DEP, and Department of Transportation called me and said that they're planning a educational program on September 28th at 11 a.m. For local governments on implementing EV programs, both infrastructure and looking further ahead to fleets and things like that. And he asked if Bellefonte Borough would join the city of Pittsburgh in doing the presentation. I contacted Don, and he's agreed to do the granting part of it, and I will do the other part. And we'll get some more information about it later, but I just want to know that the state likes what we've done, and as a result are asking us to highlight it at this governmental presentation on September 28th. That's it. Any questions? Okay, moving on, building and property. Anne?
I do not have anything this week.
Okay. Finance. Gina.
Hello. Hopefully you can hear me. My internet's kind of choppy this evening. In your packet, there was the budget versus actual summary for July and also the full length report for July, and then the current versus prior for July. Were there any questions about any of the finance reports from July?
Didn't see anything.
Okay.
Don't see any.
Okay.
Do everyone questions? When are we going to start setting up these budgetary meetings?
As soon as possible. So, yeah, I think Ralph, I think we have plans to set something up pretty soon here.
Yeah, I would say in September. We usually like to have, as 9-10 months of data is best, and especially this year going into next year with the virus issues. I think we do need to start early, but it'll be in September.
Okay. Any other questions for Gina? And seeing none, moving on to Parks and Rec, Melissa? You're muted.
Would this be a good time for our visitor, since I'm
Yes.
assuming she's here? Or the Center County Aglow?
Go ahead.
Yes, my name's Adrienne Fee. I don't know what information you have about our event, if I should just open it up for questions, or do you want me to do a summary?
Do a quick summary for the public's purpose. That would be
Okay. Okay. All right. We're planning a 20, I guess it's going to be functionally a 26-hour prayer vigil, similar to last year, that we'll have some live music, we'll have some prayers, and just a gathering at Talleyrand Park at the gazebo. And last year we never had more than 30 people at one time at the event. So I don't think that we'll be needing to worry about the 250 person limit in the park, but we will keep track of how many people are there. I do have a question. So we have a band set up. So we'll start at 7 p.m. on Friday.
Can you give the public the date?
11th, September 11th. And then we'll go through 9 p.m. on September 12th.
Okay.
So given that time period, what would be the schedule of the restrooms being cleaned? Would that be up to us, or is that a borough, function? Or
We would have to look into that. We usually do prepared for, 26-hour event.
Right.
We do have someone that comes in over the weekends and checks them, but we could, work together on that and make sure that they're supplied and cleaned.
Okay. All right. They were wonderfully clean and well supplied last year during our 50-hour event. So I have no complaints about that at all. It's just a matter of staying with the regs for the COVID issue.
So we met last week, and Adrian agreed to all of the COVID-19 guidelines. So what we would need would be a conditional approval of this Aglow event on September 11th to 12th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. the following day, with marked social distancing, signage requiring masks at all times, and counting and having hand sanitizers there, and making sure that people stay separate. And that the music doesn't go through the entire night like it did last year, because that was a complaint that we had last year, and they did agree that they were stopping at what time?
Last year we stopped the music at 10 p.m. This year we'll stop the music at 9 p.m. and just have a soft acoustic after that.
And what time would you start the next day?
9 a.m.
So for 12 hours it was just acoustic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we need a conditional motion following all the COVID-19 guidelines. Acoustic music only between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. Signage, and with payment of the park fees and the insurance liability.
Okay.
Motion by
Make
Brackville.
that motion, Habaski.
Husky and Brackville.
I'll second it.
We already had that.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm busking Brackville. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Finish-
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Finish with your report, Melissa.
That was the meeting that we had last week for our park committee. I had another meeting with Don, Craig, our electrician, and Joanne, Lauren Stam from DBI, and Matt Amon. We discussed permanently installing the under the lights on the waterfront. We have like a beginning idea of what the cost will be. It'll be a lot of money, and we will come up with a plan for how to pay for that. I'm still waiting to get links from Craig and Matt, so I'll just touch base with them. And then we'll be one step closer to presenting a plan to the borough, but it's going to be not immediate. We had another meeting last Monday with the Talleyrand Park Committee. About a dozen or so of us met and did a park walkthrough. We discussed the brick installation that will be happening, the inscription bricks that I showed you all last month. Bricks have been ordered for that. We are using the bricks that we were planning to use on that to extend the walkway to the new bridge by the railroad bridge. So the Lycoming Supply is working to install bricks from the railroad platform to the metal bricks, and then I think they already paved from the figure 8 to the other side of the bridge. I think that happened last week. So they had, I think the park committee came up with a 5-point list that they shared with Matt, and those things are being taken care of. And that is all I'm aware of, other than the pedestrian bridge is coming along, and there's a lot of geese in our park right now.
Over 50.
Over 50. There's quite a bit. So that is my report if anyone has any questions.
I have one.
Go ahead.
Could you remind everybody as far as the buying a brick, so you put your names on, how that takes place, who to contact?
Yes, I do not have the brick to show you. It's out on the porch. I could run and get it, but if anyone at home is curious, you can go to talleyrandpark.org. You can also go to our website, bellefonte.net, and there is a link to order forms. It's very easy. You just fill out a form and mail it back to talleyrandpark.org with a check, and you can have any inscription that you so choose as long as it passes muster, and it will be installed hopefully within the next 2 months. Hopefully we'll have the first wave of bricks installed.
And one of the decisions that was made during this is that the design on this part of the walkway will be in a herringbone position. So if you are very wordy and you need to have 2 bricks, they could be on top, one on top of the other, and they could say I have a longer statement. So, but it also allows people to, so when you're walking down the walkway, they all will be facing in the same direction. And the decision was made, the ones that are 90 degrees to the ones that are printed, they will not be printed. So once all of the inserts that are framed by those particular ones are filled, that will be it. And we don't know how many that is at this point, because we don't know how many bricks it'll take to actually fill it up.
And one other question, I missed, if you gave a price, I missed what the cost would be for a brick.
I'll get it for you.
I believe, it's $150. It's $150
Per brick.
per brick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Doug?
Can we get the fish food containers refilled sometime?
it's really messing with our park budget because it is very off from last year.
To fill the containers?
No, the money that we make from that is off by quite a bit. And we make quite a bit of money. That is the best money maker in this town.
I had my grandchildren down there this weekend, and we wanted to donate, but there was no food, so we had to use the illegal food of bread.
I feel certain that I saw a fish food dispenser at My Buzz Cafe. I think they have one there.
Yeah, they put one
My
up,
Buzz installed one next to their deck.
Yeah, right.
Does that money come to the borough, or does that My Buzz keep it?
Goes to the
They
park.
keep it.
It's theirs. They own it.
Okay.
So can we get ours filled, or is, oh, okay. Cool.
Anything else for Parks and Rec? Seeing none, Human Resources, John? You're muted, John.
Yes. Currently, we have we've solicited, we've advertised for an opening for an administrative assistant and also parking meter / animal enforcement positions. And we've received, we've selected the resumes of the applicants that we're going to consider, and the interviews are being scheduled for the next couple of weeks. Along those lines, our part-time police officer, Bryce Green, has taken a position with Spring Township. So congratulations to him. We will be scheduling an HR meeting in the near future to figure out what our path forward is with that position. So that's the two human resource items that I have.
Any questions for John?
Yeah, I have a question for John. John, can I be part of that meeting? Or
oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Right.
you'll be part of that for the part-time officer, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. It was it's either that or it's going to be a pretty lonely meeting.
Okay. All right, gotcha.
Okay, so.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Randy, safety?
The only thing I have is that letters have gone out to Representative Benninghoff and Senator Corman. I think Ralph had put the letters together. He would have to explain what's in it, what it's requesting toward the fire.
This is, it was requested to send letters in regard to the amendments to the fireworks law that was passed in 2017. I can't recall the exact House bill number, but the law was passed in 2017, and it opened up, what consumers could purchase. And as you know, we've had 3 summers since then. And each summer we seem to have more and more complaints about people not following the setbacks that are in the state law as far as using fireworks near residents or with occupied or unoccupied vehicles. I think there's something, I can't quite quote the verbiage that's in the law, but there's a number of issues that we have seen with it. So I asked in my letters to our representative and senator to consider repealing the amendments made in 2017. And that was in line along with the Pennsylvania Municipal League's position as well. They also asked that the law not be amended, but be repealed. So I followed suit and wrote my letters that same way.
Any questions?
You mean I can't set off dynamite in my backyard?
You can. You're special. We are having a meeting tomorrow. Is that correct, Randy?
Yes, there is a meeting tomorrow evening at 6 p.m.
Yes.
So,
And the reason for the meeting is, I believe a municipality can always make a law more restrictive, not less restrictive. So I think we have some samples of what some other municipalities did above and beyond what the state did. So I think that's the purpose, to consider something at the local level.
yeah, Rob, I pulled some off today, and I just kind of downloaded them. But if you want, I can send them to you. So if we do the meeting, you can share on your screen. Might make it easier.
Sure.
And Mike, have you decided, are you able to make tomorrow night?
Yes, I am.
Great. Okay. Then we should
Give
everybody
me the
there.
link, though.
Good.
That's virtual?
Yes.
I do need a link.
How many people do we have at this meeting, do you think?
You should be okay. You're not counted, Mayor, as a council member, so you're
But I
fine.
mean, how many people will be there?
I'll be there.
It's the committee pretty much and myself.
Okay.
So it's
Well, how many is that?
Mike, Randy,
6 or 7.
me, and Ann. And then,
All right.
um,
I was just kind of thinking we.
yeah,
could
we can
probably
only
do-
have, we can have up to 4 council members without having an issue of the sunshine law.
I was just thinking we
Mayor's
could,
thinking about meeting in person,
yes, that's what I was thinking.
but comfort levels, I think virtual's fine.
I agree.
I will send out the link tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
What time is the meeting? 6?
6.
Awesome.
All right.
And anything else for safety?
No, that's all I have. Thanks.
Isn't there a safety fire exec meeting this month?
I have to confirm that there should be, because we really need to start looking at the budget ourselves through the fire exec committee. So I need to talk with Chief Lore and see how he wants to handle that. And I think if we use their building over on Blanchard Street, we would have enough room for social distancing for the entire committee. So I'm going to reach out to him this week and see what his intentions are.
Okay.
I don't know if he's met with Lori yet or not. I know he was planning on meeting with her. And so whether we need the full board for that meeting, I'm not sure. In the past years, Walt pretty much did the budget himself and brought it to a meeting, and then it was discussed. Chief Lore's doing a little differently. He's trying to pull more people together and make sure there's good discussions about the budget and what's needed. So that should be what this August meeting would be about.
Okay, thank you.
Ooh, this is fun.
Water and sanitation, Doug?
You have the water withdrawal report and you have the minutes from the authority meeting that was in your packet. I don't think I have anything more to report on that. Ralph, what do you have to add to that?
Well, just that there's a note here about the Coca-Cola agreement or transfer of the property to a new entity. I just want to make sure, and maybe we read our minutes, but a lot of those discussions are in executive session. The authority is acting on that. There's a timeline or 60 days, obviously, to act and get a response back to Coca-Cola. We're working on that through our attorney. So I'll try to keep you updated. Just a reminder that the authority's taking the lead. Obviously, the Big Spring and all the permits, everything is in the name of the authority. However, the agreement has the borough's name on it and the authority's name on it, as well as Milesburg Borough and Coca-Cola. So I will definitely keep the council appraised as far as any decisions are being made or the steps that we're taking.
I think Joanne asked that question last meeting. You were absent, Ralph, I believe, but nothing at this point has changed, Joanne. We're still fact finding.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, nothing has changed. Even
Thanks
if
for that.
the facility hasn't changed hands, they're projecting sometime before the end of the year, but That's what we were estimated as a timeline.
Anything else, Doug?
No, nothing.
Any questions for Doug? Seeing none, we'll move on to streets. Deb?
Okay, the Streets Committee met, and one of the top priorities for us is repainting the crosswalks, depending on the schedule for the maintenance crews, since they're catching up a little bit from being furloughed over the summer. We wanted to focus primarily on the downtown area, start with those crosswalks, get them repainted and brought back up to snuff, and potentially long-term looking at an imprinted pattern in the crosswalks that would make them look a little bit more obvious than just the two white lines. But that's down the line depending on financing and what funds may be available. We talked a little bit about maybe doing the piano key crosswalks again, but they're too slippery. Those white painted stripes are not safe, so we'll just stick with the two parallel white lines. Parking meters, all of the single space parking meters have been installed. The kiosk pads are being worked on. There's one right now by the waffle shop that is in progress. I took a look at it today and I don't think it's quite done. There's still some discussion with the parking ordinance about long-term meters and ideas for long-term parking permits, whether we want a different fee schedule for residents versus business parking, but that's under discussion. There's a note here about the PennDOT signs, the Watch for Children's Safety signs. Is there any update on those?
Matt Allman, who is our Public Works Director, just received some feedback late this afternoon. I'll put the exact email in the next council packet, but it does not look good. Basically, what the PennDOT representative is suggesting or saying is we must pick a sign from PennDOT's publication. I don't recall the number of the publication, but you have no choice but to follow whatever approved signage is in their publication. And I will look into that between now and the next meeting and see what our options are, or what, as far as children safety. But I'll include the email and try to locate this publication for you.
Okay, because the existing sign just does say watch children, and if that's what the PennDOT approved signage is, that's what we already have installed at multiple locations around town. And there's a memo in the packet from Ralph about extending the reserved space for restaurants for pickup customers during, since the restaurants can't function at full seating capacity now. If we could extend the reserved parking spaces for pickup only, I think there are 4 or 5 restaurants in town that are doing that. And that's a courtesy to them.
So based on that, I'd like to see a motion to keep the curbside pickup spots as marked for free until the COVID-19 emergency is lifted, with the proviso that the parking in these spaces is limited to 15 minutes and will be ticketed after that if abused.
I'll make that motion, Brackbill.
Second, Prendergast.
Brackbill and Prendergast, okay. Discussion?
Good idea.
Yeah, I think it'll be very much appreciated by the business owners.
Good.
Yeah, it seems like the restaurants are all pretty busy.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done.
Thank you.
So Gina and Ralph, you can let them know.
Sure, thank you, will do.
Yep.
Anything else, Deb?
I don't have anything on my list. Thank you.
No questions? Yes, Doug.
I was approached by a neighbor living near my home. He asked if we could look at North Monroe Street and East Lynn Street intersection. If the street committee would look at it and consider adding a stop sign, making it a 4-way stop. I told him I would pass that along to the borough council, and let us all discuss it, or Madam President, wherever you think that should go.
Well, it's a streets issue and it doesn't involve the state, so that is something we can make a decision on our own. Or no? Nope.
We're still, even though it's a local intersection, we follow the PennDOT standards. I'm happy, I think the committee should meet and look at it, and then if you're interested, the easiest thing is to contact LTAP, which we want to have them come in anyway, add that to the list. And you have to do a study, and stop signs have to be warranted, just like a traffic light or whatever.
Okay, I told him, I gave him misinformation. I thought if it was a local road, we didn't have to do that. So I'm fine with that, but he asked if we would look at it, and I said I would pass it along to council, and I'm open to any suggestions from council.
So we'll move this over to the streets for them to review, and then see if we can add it to the I think we have 2 other intersections that we're having LTAP look at, so it will be 3 of them.
Yes. Do we have any idea when LTAP might be visiting?
I don't have a date yet. I've had some emails and calls. I keep missing the guy, but I'll try to get enough time ahead so that as many of you can make it as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Is this going to come out in the doodle calendar?
Well, yes and no, Randy. I got to work with the LTAP's the representative.
No, I'm talking about our meeting to review the intersection.
He's asking for
Yes, I'm sorry. We'll send out a doodle. Yeah, we'll set it up as a meeting.
anything else for streets?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Moving on, energy and environment.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be getting comments about the greenhouse gas report, and I haven't gotten anything that I know of. I haven't seen any emails.
Yeah, we got one today.
Oh, okay. Well,
thank you, Randy.
I'll look at it.
I thought I sent it just before the weekend, but I must have missed the send button and it just set in my draft area there till I found it.
Not a problem.
So if anybody who's listening in the public, if we can have these by the end of the week, then we can have a doodle for some time over the next 2 weeks to set up, and so we can go over this in detail and make the edits that are needed or make it recommended, and then bring it back in September. Because we have 3 weeks before our next meeting.
Mike, if you didn't get it, let me know. I'll resend it to you.
All right, well, I'll check while Joanne's giving her thing on sustainability.
Okay. I think it was Thursday, Don, John, and I met with, and John, pipe in if I miss anything, met with Ilona Bauer, soil scientist professor at Penn State, regarding the project that John has suggested regarding maybe redesigning the dam over the Spring Creek next to Talleyrand Park, and looking at a land improvement area at that triangle. Because of COVID-19, Penn State said the students will be doing all of their research virtually rather than coming into town as they have done in the past. Hold on just 1 second. Let me plug the computer in so I don't lose you again. Hold on. Yeah. It just got loose. So they're going to be looking at soil erosion, the stream flow, and how the waterfall might be redesigned to help the stream keep from warming and also allow for kayaking, the banks from eroding, and possible suggestions for dealing with the wall on the Water Street, which you've been trying to deal with PennDOT for several years. After the initial review in the first semester, this group will determine how to break down the project into what they can do as their capstone project and to make suggestions for future projects from other sustainability classes. Because after looking at this, they thought this was a very big project. It was more than just one class could handle. They said it would probably take several classes and a couple of years of review before we have a complete idea of plans for the improvement. John, do you have anything else?
No, I don't, Joanne. You summarized it pretty well. It basically what we told them it's a big project, and they seemed interested in looking at it as a multi-year effort. So something they can build on. So they sound interested, and I think it'll be good for them. I think it'll be good for them and us. So
yeah. We also quickly talked about the shade tree survey, and they said because they cannot have any requirements for any classes or any independent studies where they put it out and then someone then does it because of this COVID-19. They said that if they have somebody who comes forth and says they want forestry department and wants to do a local project and has their own public transportation and offers their their own transportation, then we could do that project. But as right now, they haven't had any bids on that, but they can't do it the other direction. So that was on hold.
Someday we'll be beyond COVID and they'll actually be able to do work with us.
Yeah.
Someday.
So any questions on energy and environment? Okay. Moving on to the Office of Community Affairs. Ralph?
Sure. We had a planning commission. The minutes are in the packet. That was August 10th. There's no action from the planning commission being recommended to council. We had a HARB meeting and there were 2 items being recommended for certificates of appropriateness. The first one is 227 North Allegheny Street. The owners want to level the front porch, as in keep it there, but level the floor and then replace the flooring and add some new paint color. The second item is 111 East High Street, suite number 2. They're adding a new sign in front of the building. It's a projecting sign.
We need a motion to approve the certificates of appropriateness for the leveling and replacement of the porch flooring, including painting at 227 North Allegheny as presented, and the new bladed sign at 11 East High Street as presented.
Johnson will make the motion.
Second
I'll second it.
Was that
Mike Prendergast, okay. Discussion. This was actually an easy meeting. Everybody liked everything. There was no recommendations for any changes. It went really, really quick.
It did. It was very nice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Anything else from?
That's all I have this evening. Doug?
Yes, Doug.
I was approached by a citizen who watches the HARB district and the historic district carefully. He brought this to my attention that on High Street, West High Street, the High Street shop building, there's a walkway between that and the State Farm agency. And somebody painted the wall of the High Street shops multicolored. When was that approved by HARB?
I would have to check our records. The certificates are good for a year. If they went through the process, they're good for a year. It's possible something would have been approved last fall and they're doing it now. But I will check on that and see if there's anything in the files.
I don't remember anything. I think you're right.
That's what I said to the person, that I wasn't aware that it came before HARB, and I don't recall us approving it. So I said I would check on it, and I think it's something that HARB needs to look at.
HARB only reviews projects. We, the borough, have to enforce our ordinance. It's through a neighbor or through enforcement or whatever. We contact the property owners, just like the roofs, and we have them go through the process.
So in this case, what would probably happen is we'll have to go back. If it wasn't approved, they will have to go back and do a post-approval review.
Yes.
And if it's not approved, then they're going to have to fix it.
Yes.
Anything else? And old business.
I can go down the list, at least get started. There's an email about this Airmail 100 commemoration. It's coming up on September 8th at the Bellefonte Airport, which is in Benner Township. They're redoing the original cross-country mail route, which stopped in Bellefonte. And of course, the flight is all about the commemoration of the airmail. Again, you've seen emails. We can pass them on. The chamber is very involved in this event. Again, if you want to be involved, it's in the morning on September 8th. And I think you just go and be there as part of the crowd.
I've been notified of that, and I'll be representing the town. If anybody else from council wants to show up, that'd be great.
I'd like to come. Tom,
Yes.
you want to get back to them? I read their memorandum. They were asked for some suggestions regarding food for the pilots.
Suggestions for what?
Food.
Food?
Food.
You gonna make some sandwiches or what?
The Pennsylvania Department of Health is saying prepackaged food only. So that's what we need to let them know. Because it'll be out in a public setting when you hand it to them. It might be, we could get carry out from a restaurant or something, but it has to be packaged up. It can't be just like an open buffet type thing.
Well, we should probably just check with Gary on that.
Yeah.
He's basically coordinating that whole thing.
Yeah. That was the only thing I saw that I thought might need a reminder.
Okay.
But I thought it looks like a nice event.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right. Next item is just a note that there's an upcoming Penn State Extension Office webinar titled The Future of Zoning, the View from the COVID-19 Lens. It'll be this Wednesday, the 19th. I don't have the time in front of me, but it is recorded, so we'll be able to send out the recording afterwards.
Is this a link that we could all do, or is this just?
I believe so. I think we paid a small one-time fee, and I think you can do this from your home or office, whatever. I believe that is the case.
Okay. So if you want to see it, let Kathy know.
Let Kathy know, and she'll confirm, that the link's available to wherever you're at.
Okay.
Next item is just, I was asked to write some letters to Spring Township, the state police regarding a meeting, just to discuss policing. We really don't know each other very well as far as operations and whatnot, and just an opportunity to try to get to know each other a little bit better. I've not had a response. I know Spring Township only meets once a month, but I'll be looking for that, hopefully by the next meeting. Likewise with the intersection at Mill Street, Axeman, and Pine Street, we inquired about a complete stop at that intersection heading north on, into the borough. Waiting to hear back and see if Spring Township supports that.
Would that also require an LTAP study? Because there's already
I would think,
but not a three-way stop.
Yeah, I would think so. I think a change like that may, but we can easily clarify that with PennDOT.
Okay.
The letter for the runoff meeting, I'm waiting for some dates. We're looking at doing that in September, just trying to coordinate everyone's schedule. I'd like to have someone from PennDOT there, a representative from Benninghoff's office, Representative Benninghoff's office, and Senator Corman's office, and we meet on site. There is a drain, on Zion Road I'd like to look at, and then see where that ends up. I believe it does flow into that low area there along Parkwood Boulevard, Parkwood Drive area. Just another reminder, the annual Bellefonte EMS release overview that we've done the last few years is scheduled for Monday, August 31st, 7 p.m. We are to RSVP by August 26th. You can make it. Again, I know some of you have gone. You kind of know what they're going to say, but it's important that we encourage other municipalities to get involved and help carry the load for our local EMS service.
Is this virtual or on site?
That's a very good question. I'll have to verify that, Joanne, which way they're doing that.
It almost read like it was on site.
Yeah, it did.
If it's virtual, I can attend. If it's on site, I can't.
I'll find that out and see if that's an option. Next item is, this is old business because we actually got the letters about a month ago. It's a Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month resolution. It's in your packet for your consideration.
So I'd like a motion to approve resolution number 08/18/2020-01, designating the month of September 20th as Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month and September 10th as Suicide Awareness and Prevention Day in Bellefonte Borough.
Thank you.
I'll
Make the motion.
Walker,
Okay.
who's seconding it?
seconded.
Prendergast. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay, next item is related to the mask wearing ordinance that has been talked about at the last meeting. And I think it was reported, we were sending comments and a draft from State College Borough and comments from their Department of Health to our solicitor, which we did. And you have in your information packet the response from our solicitor, his opinion as to the borough having the authority to adopt this type of ordinance. In summary, our solicitor is saying we do have the authority, given the situation, given the emergency declaration, given the COVID-19 pandemic. He believes we do, as an entity or municipality, have the authority under the borough code to create this type of ordinance. We included the final adopted ordinance that State College adopted. What we haven't done is really gone through and tailored that to Bellefonte Borough. I would suggest, if you're interested, a motion be made to consider advertising an ordinance similar to that, maybe with a committee to work it a little bit, make it tailored to Bellefonte, and then ideally try to have it on the agenda for the next meeting. Joanne mentioned earlier that the next meeting is 3 weeks away, so plenty of time to do that.
So can we make a motion to have safety committee draft the ordinance based on the Patton Township one, which is more like what?
Yeah, I didn't mention Patton Township, but that one just came in today. It is more like us because they don't have the health board as we don't either. So yeah, we could look at the Patton Township as well, or more importantly.
So we can have, so what you're saying, just before we do this, we can have a motion to draft and advertise over the next 3 weeks.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then pass at the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, do I have such a motion?
I'll make it. I'll make the motion.
Prendergast,
I'll second it, Clayton.
Discussion?
I just want to say that I went through that today and I can't find it right now, but I wrote down several changes that I think we might be able to make given the fact that we are not State College. And I'd like to be a part of that discussion or group when we decide to take a look at that.
That sounds good.
I'll find my notes before that. So.
Yeah, I know. Tom, I agree with you. When I was looking over it, both of those limit any public gathering to 25 people.
Yeah,
and I don't think, I think that's too restrictive for here.
Yeah, that was one of the places that I did make changes, and I think we need to sort of delineate between inside outside gatherings.
Yeah, I think they do a better job of that in the Patton Township one than they did in the State College.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, so if someone has that and can forward it to me, I'd like to take a look at that one as well.
I think I just got it in the email today or yesterday.
Yeah, I received it this morning, forwarded it on to Kathy and Ralph, and they sent it out about 1 o'clock this afternoon.
All right, well, then I probably have it. I just haven't seen it yet.
My
All right,
only comment to you on that is when you do talk about inside and outside, and when you talk about outside, I would suggest you make a diagram of what 6 feet spacing is between people.
Say that again, John. You're muffled.
What I'm saying is when you do this, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
When you do this, make a diagram so that you know what 6 feet spacing between people is, and then look at the various passages through Bellefonte, specifically like Lamb Street Pedestrian Bridge, the bridge over Talleyrand. And I think you're going to find that a lot of those places won't accommodate a 6 foot spacing.
That's when you wear the mask.
Yeah.
Even if you're wearing the mask.
No, there's a difference there.
It's not in that resolution from Patton
No, I know,
Township.
and that's one of the changes that I propose on that as well.
And do you have a medical degree to offer that change?
John, why don't you make the changes?
Well, that's my point with it. I look at that and I don't think it's feasible.
The Patton Township one?
Yeah, think about how wide the sidewalk is, Mike.
And do you have the legal?
No, I don't have it. I don't know how to. I agree with the intent of making the resolution. I don't know how to make this thing actually work.
That's what we were going to meet about.
Yes.
This is referred to safety, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, Randy.
I'm not sure how I feel about an ordinance. If we're following Pennsylvania guidelines, and when you go around town, I don't see long lines outside of restaurants.
Yeah.
In most cases, if I'm walking the dog or something, or I'm just walking down and I'm by myself, I have my mask in my pocket. If I need to go in somewhere where I come up to a group, I can put that mask on. But
Yes.
I also, where I see the issue is some of the businesses who aren't wearing masks, and I don't know how you're going to enforce that. And if
with an ordinance,
water it down, then from one extreme to another extreme, aren't we just basically going to end up following Pennsylvania guidelines anyway?
For the most part, we will be, Randy, but this gives us some teeth should we encounter a situation where it's extremely out of control. The purpose of this and the purpose of our involvement, or asked to be involved, as we're Spring and Patton and all the different townships, was because State College was going to put some teeth in theirs, which they did. You've all seen it, because of the students coming back, and they wanted to sort of create a perimeter so, bless you, a
Thank you.
perimeter so that the students couldn't migrate to the different townships and boroughs and
Cause us problems.
create large parties and that kind of thing. And I think that's what we really got to look at. All the state regulations, I think we're, as a community, following pretty closely. But we really have no recourse if there's like a busload of 45 students come down and go into Big Spring Spirits and they don't want to comply. So this would help with those types of extreme situations. That's all.
Well, Tom, I guess, you know, I think a number of people are good and well-intentioned, but today we had Matt Allman and two of the other gentlemen from Public Works, and they were working on the bridge, and they all were in a mask. And people were walking right by them on the Talleyrand Bridge with no mask.
That's the reason. In order.
That's the reason we need this.
I got that, but you're going to have you're even if you have but you're saying you're going to be happy if they have a mask on while they're passing within how many feet?
That's the way.
That's the governor. That's what the PA mandate is.
Is that if you're closer than 6 feet, you need to wear a mask. If you're further than 6 feet away, then you don't.
Not to mention that there is a time of exposure.
Right.
If you're just passing somebody on the bridge, you're not going to have that big of an exposure.
I think you possibly read something additional into that there, Mike. I agree that you can possibly say on the mask passing, but you're not going to say that you don't want the people on that bridge. You would let somebody on the bridge that's not wearing a mask while you have somebody else passing?
No.
Okay.
We need an ordinance.
Okay. But I'm saying
that's what we're going to discuss.
Okay, but I'm just saying you got to look all over town and consider about the traffic flow in your pedestrian areas.
That will be part of the discussion, I'm sure.
Randy, you had something to say?
No, never mind.
Okay. Any further discussion? Are we ready for a vote? All in favor for putting this for drafting and advertising over the next 3 weeks?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
I believe that's the last item for old business.
New business?
I'm sorry.
The first item we've already basically taken care of earlier, and referring that back to the ad hoc committee for review once we've got the audit from the wayfinding committee.
Okay. The next item then.
But let me say one other thing. The temporary signs of the CBICC we're talking about, they can go ahead and do those. It's the permanent signs that they won't be able to do for right now.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item is I put a memo in the packet about our lobby vestibule. As you know, we've upgraded the lobby area here on the second floor. We got some furniture donated from Caparel's. Very nice, put carpet in. And we put an intercom in so that people can talk to a receptionist or whoever is in the office at the time. If they have a question or a problem they're trying to get resolved, or we can talk to them. We wanted to have security in this office area so that the doors are locked, have to be open from the office side, cannot be open from the public side. Anyway, my plan is we've had the lobby area closed since about the middle of March when the coronavirus started to spread through Pennsylvania. And I would like to open the lobby area right after Labor Day and have this controlled area. People can only get to the top of the lobby area where the intercom is 99% of the time. For a few exceptions, we have to have an in-person meeting. We would probably come into the council room here and have an in-person meeting, but we're really, really trying to limit who gets into the office and highly recommend other forms of communication, the phone, the email, the Zoom, whatever. We go out and meet with the person on site, whatever the case may be, but we're really trying to limit the amount of activity in the office area, keep our employees healthy, keep the public healthy that are coming and going.
So I'd like a motion to approve the new public access guidelines for the Borough building effective Tuesday, September 8th, 2020.
I'd be glad to make that motion.
Prendergast,
I'll second.
that was Randy. Prattville? Discussion?
The construction is complete?
Yes, construction's complete and everything's ready to go.
Go for it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all,
I wanted to add one thing, Ralph. I just sent you a text. The drug drop box, were you planning on bringing that up?
I'm sorry, it was in the memo, Sean.
Okay, all right. Okay.
The drug, but since you brought it up, I'll mention, I did put it in the memo. The drug box, we're going to move out to the first floor lobby and secure it to the floor so that citizens can drop off old prescriptions, whatever. And we incinerate those prescriptions or those drugs, but it's a safe place. They can get into the lobby during business hours and drop off the drugs, and they'll be in a safe container. Chief Weaver received a brand new, did you say it was donated, the container?
Yes, it was. It's a professional grade container. It has Bellefonte Police Department insignia on it, and it's very secure. So whenever you want to put that in, it'll be fine.
Okay, thank you. That's our plan.
may I have a question about that?
Sure.
What happens to the plastic? I mean,
Everything is incinerated at 2,000 degrees. So everything.
So this is another greenhouse gas issue. That's why I'm asking.
Penn State has to deal with that. They everything is. We take it to the incinerator at Penn State, and it's taken care of. It keeps it out of the watershed.
Okay.
Yeah, normally what happens, unfortunately, people throw it in the garbage or flush it down the toilet, and it ends up in the treatment plant process,
Okay.
in a stream. It's not good.
Yeah, 2,000 degrees is about the same as what they use for Superfund cleanup or when they're cleaning the soil.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good information. Thanks, John. Any other questions? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
Thank you.
Any other new business? Any public comment?
Did not receive any.
Motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
Rockville.
That was Prendergast first and then Brackville. Seeing no opposition, we ended at 9:42 p.m.
Thank you, 9:42.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night, everybody.
Pleasure as always.